Greetings, metaphysicians. This is episode 180, Relationship Repair. And this is an incredibly powerful process, like all of the angelic reformation tools we've been talking about in this season. It talks of forgiveness and repairing relationships, developing in ideal relationships. I think you're really going to like it. Enjoy.
You're listening to Let's Get Metaphysical. This podcast explores the spiritual and metaphysical world through the experiences and opinions of the host and those interviewed. It should not necessarily be seen as direct endorsement or personal advice to our listeners. We encourage you to use your own discernment, judgment, and intuition regarding anything you learn from this show. The statements and advice offered in this podcast are not intended to diagnose, treat, cure, or prevent any disease or medical condition, and are not substitutes for prudent medical care offered by licensed medical professionals. References to healing or treatments in this episode are describing faith-based blessings performed by God and the master healing angels. Neither this episode nor any part of it may be copied, transcribed, distorted, sold, republished, or distributed without first receiving the express written permission of both the CMA International Foundation and Up and Awaken Productions.
Let's get meta.
Welcome to the Let's Get Metaphysical podcast. I'm your host, Renata Maniaci. Here to remind you, you are a spiritual being having a temporary human experience here on lovely planet Earth. Enjoy it. This is Season 8, Angelic Reformation, and this is episode 180, Relationship Repair. And this season is all about the body of knowledge known as Angelic Reformation, as well as a look at each of its tools. Angelic Reformation is what we call the tools, processes, and rapid spiritual development work that has been presented through the teacher, Master John Douglas, by his companions, the Master Angels. It is about the intentional evolution of your consciousness without the use or necessity of outside substances or other interventions. And what do I mean by that? I mean outside substances like drugs, psychedelics, plant medicines, therapy, religious dogma, esoteric rituals, traditions. It's common for people right now to have spiritual experiences that were prompted by these substances, these things. And this practice, Angelic Reformation, does not involve any of that. It is about direct communion with the divine without these outside substances or interventions. It's a set of spiritual development tools that anyone can choose to use alongside any existing spiritual practice, religion, or tradition, if desired. We are doing a whole season on this topic because the purpose of this podcast, in part, is to encourage a deeper understanding of the invisible and unseen world that affects us just as intimately as the visible and seen aspects, if not more. After 9 years of using the tools of Angelic Reformation, I have found that each one has helped me gain a deeper and truer understanding of the unseen and unknown influences affecting us all the time, be they energetic, karmic, microbial, parasitic, demonic, angelic, or otherwise. If you have not yet listened to the first 2 episodes for this season, please go ahead and listen to episode 168, Angelic Reformation, and episode 169, The Evolution of Consciousness, before listening into this one. They will provide needed context for what we are talking about. Now, if you're ready, then let's get meta. Master Angels, I humbly request your presence, guidance, and support through this episode. Please help these words to be useful to all listeners on their evolutionary journey. Let me know the truth, speak the truth, become the truth, and be the truth. And please let this episode reach whoever needs to hear it. Thank you with full faith. Bless creation. As I said, today we are talking about the relationship development directed prayer process. That is its full name, but many refer to this tool simply as relationship repair, which it is also referred to in the process itself. Just to remind everyone listening, a process is, in this context, an MP3, kind of like an audio meditation. There are currently 15 processes in the array of tools that make up Angelic Reformation, ranging in length from 3 minutes to just over an hour. Here's the description of the 16-minute relationship repair process direct from the website where it can be purchased at globalcma.org. Creating harmony and oneness with all particles of matter in the universe impacts all times and dimensions, past, present, and future. Doing so removes barriers and anti-divinity limitations. The result can be accelerated evolution, realization, increase of divine worthiness, and full support of nature. Purchase of this process also includes access to Master John's talk on this process called A Guide to Relationship Development. Suggestions for use: listen to relationship development directed prayer as often as desired. This process is part of the long loop. What is the loop? And we talked about this in other episodes, but just as a reminder, the short loop consists of 3 MP3 processes: location repair, spirit repair, and psychological repair, played on repeat in the background with little or no volume. A lot of people keep this loop with them and play it on repeat 24/7 so that they are protected, rebuilt, and transformed as they go through their days. These 3 MP3 processes are designed to give you 100% of the benefit of their highly technical and advanced healing processes, even while they play in the background and you're not actively listening to them. Now, those 3 are part of the short loop, as I mentioned. We already had episodes on those 3 processes. But you may also have a longer loop. You can add these 3 additional processes to the loop, including soul repair, which we've also already had an episode about, relationship development, which is this episode, and karmic repair, which will be next episode. So with these 3 additions, karmic repair, soul repair, and relationship development, you will only receive about 20% of the benefit of these effects while they play in the background. They are not designed like the first 3, so you will need to listen actively and participate while they are playing with the volume up in order to receive 100% of their benefits. But if you prefer to have a long loop with these 6 processes, you still will get about 20% of the benefits of these last 3 here. Who benefits from the loop playing? Well, as you go through your day, whether at the office, at school, the grocery store, your home, with your loop playing in your pocket, powerful transformative processes will not only protect and refresh you, but will be a great benefit to all those in the room or building who are with you and able to receive the transformative frequencies and the healing blessings being transmitted. This is a beautiful gift from the Master Angels and Master John, and it's a lovely thing to share these processes silently with everyone around you. Before I share more of my own personal experiences with the relationship development process, I'm going to play a few testimonials from people who use this process regularly.
Hi, my name is Lisa, and I live in California, and I'm very grateful to have been part of the CMA community for many years. I've used relationship repair countless times, as I have a fairly large family and struggles with relationships and situations in my life. I've never found relationship repair to not shift the situation that I've dedicated it to for the better of myself and everyone involved. It just kind of comes in and smooths out all of the rough edges and corners. I dedicate it to a situation or a person, a relationship I'm having, And I don't know if it's me that miraculously shifts or them that miraculously shifts, but it just always shifts it enough to get through the other side and to help longevity and love show up more in anything that I've dedicated that process to. It's really one of my favorites. Of course, I say that about all of them, but I'm really grateful for it. Thank you, Master John, from the bottom of my heart.
Hello, this is Cody from Wisconsin, and I've been using Master John's Angelic Reformation tools since 2016. I would like to briefly share a personal experience I've had with the relationship development process. Almost a decade ago, I made the decision to break up with my girlfriend of 8 years. Without a doubt, it was one of the hardest things I've ever had to do. Through years of ups and downs, I eventually knew it was time to part ways, and it was one of the most painful experiences of my life. I didn't know how she would ever forgive me, and I didn't know how I'd ever forgive myself. After spiraling into months of self-doubt and constant questioning, I found comfort in the relationship development process. Through regular use of the CD, I started to feel both the healing of our severed connection and a renewed faith in myself. Never again did I think that my ex would reach out or forgive me, and as time passed, we were eventually able to develop healthy communication, and to this day, we still remain friends. I knew in my heart that this angelic process helped transform my pain into love.
Hello, my name is Angela, and I live in Utah. I have been using Angelic Reformation tools since 2011. I'd like to share a powerful experience that I had in a realization using relationship repair. I had a very difficult relationship with someone for a long time. That person caused me a lot of harm and damage, and for a long time I could not figure out why that situation had happened. And I used relationship repair for a long time, asking for guidance and understanding and why I had to endure such hardships in that relationship. And at a certain point, I was shown that I had signed up for all of that, and that I was being put through that difficult situation so that I could learn certain lessons and that I could grow and develop and have more worthiness. And I was shown that it was important for me to endure that difficult time and all the losses involved so that I would become more worthy. And when I had that realization, I just burst into tears of gratitude for everything that I had endured. And I was able to completely forgive this person and to see that person as a real benefactor in my life rather than someone to resent. Relationship repair has transformed my life, has transformed my relationships, and it has given me the ability to see things in a whole new light, in a whole new way. I am forever grateful. Thank you.
A big thank you to Lisa, Cody, and Angela for sharing their experiences with us. Now, Lisa mentioned the CMA community. This is the same as saying angelic reformation tools or as using angelic reformation tools. They're one and the same. CMA stands for Church of the Master Angels. The CMA International Foundation is the 501c3 nonprofit entity through which Master John shares his work and these angelic reformation tools. The Church of the Master Angels is a non-denominational, faith-based community where all are welcome. And though it's not a church in the more traditional sense, it is the most appropriate legal structure through which to share this knowledge. Angelic Reformation has no religious dogma, and it is not a religion. In fact, the people who use Angelic Reformation tools, like all the people that you've been hearing from throughout this season with their testimonials of the different tools, they all come from different religious, spiritual, and even agnostic backgrounds, many of whom continue to practice their traditions alongside these tools, whether it is that of Christian, Jewish, Muslim, Buddhist, Hindu, Mormon faith, or others. and or while using other spiritual practices, meditations, and breathing techniques, such as Sudarshan Kriya, Transcendental Meditation, or Kriya Yoga, to name a few. That's all to say that angelic reformation is not an exclusive practice and fits comfortably alongside other practices as desired. A few people in the testimonials mentioned they dedicate this process before playing it to a specific situation or person. And what many have seen is that even though the external elements in a situation may change, often it is something within the person listening that changes and makes the situation improve. So an example of this is if you're having a particularly difficult situation with a particular person, say, before you press play on relationship repair, you can dedicate it to the improving the relationship between you and that person, or improving whatever it is that you would like help with. And as you heard in the testimonials, there's many different ways that you can do that and different situations that arrive. I wanted to also verbally share another relationship development experience that was shared with me by a friend just the other day. So I have a friend who works for a building company, and he's a very amiable guy, gets along with most, if not all, people that I've seen, but he was sharing that there was this one person that he just kind of dreaded seeing at work, and they didn't have a comfortable relationship. It was very tense and fraught. And so my friend started dedicating relationship repair to this person, to the situation with this person. And I'm not sure how many times he did it, but he did it at least a few times. And then one day he went to work and it was discovered that this particular person was involved in fraudulent activities and needed to be let go of. So there was something underlying that uncomfortability for him, though he didn't know it. And this person left that business. And sometimes, this is just a story to say that sometimes you don't know how it's going to turn out. It could be that the relationship itself just gets better. Something shifts, you forgive them, and it no longer feels upsetting to you. Or in some cases, the situation, if it deems necessary, if the universe and divinity deems it necessary, could completely change, such as the person leaving the situation altogether, not being in your life anymore, or any other untold number and ways of things and how they could resolve. So these shares are just a small smattering of the very many ways and reasons people use this tool. And personally, in preparation for this episode, I re-listened to a guide to relationship development talk from Master John, and it's just mind-blowing what this process does. It's really, truly mind-blowing what every process does. And it is so much better to listen to these guides of Master John discussing the process and how they each work. They are so different and so specific. The intricate blessings and processes that are happening during these meditations are rather unfathomable. I really can't describe them nearly as well as he can. So if these processes or tools are something that you are interested in, really, truly, if you get something like this, if you get relationship repair, I would encourage you to first or very soon thereafter listen to the guides to these. Listen to the talks that Master John has done on these specific processes that come with the purchase of this process. You will see them in your confirmation email. There will be a link. And the last time I listened to the guide to relationship repair, I don't know, maybe over a year ago, 2 years ago. I just can't remember everything that it does, but it's when you listen to his description of what it does, it makes you want to listen to it every day. And I did that this morning. I listened to it technically 3 times, but one I was still waking up. So I've listened to it a couple times just today. But it's because I listened to the guide and I'm reminded of everything that it does. And it really does do that. It's just that sometimes, as I've said in previous episodes, we get complacent, we get lazy. Even people who use these tools every day, like I do and other people do, we forget how powerful they are because we get spoiled by the results. We're used to having miraculous results happen by listening to these processes, which sounds however it sounds, but it's true. You use something every day, you do something every day. It's no longer a novelty to you. And so re-listening to the guide to relationship development yesterday was a treat. And it made me want to listen to relationship repair all the time. So I did a few dedications myself this morning to different situations and people that could benefit from that repair, that we could both benefit. There's a whole process within relationship repair that is the forgiveness process, which Master John has talked about forgiveness at length in various talks over the last decade or two, and how important it is for you, less for the other person. And the way that he describes it is just beautiful and brilliant. So I highly recommend hearing that once again. And so as for me, I've used this process several times since it became known to me. In fact, this was the very first process I ever listened to. Even though I started actively and regularly listening to soul repair and subconscious repair first as like an everyday thing, or subconscious repair once a week, soul every day, relationship development was the first process I ever heard before I went to see Master John. My friend who told me about Master John coming to Washington, D.C. all those years ago when I lived there, sent me this process, just texted it to me, the link, so that I could listen to it before I went and just see what I thought. So this was my very first process. And oh my gosh, I've used it in so many ways at so many times. So one of the biggest experiences that I've had is using this process cooperatively with a dear friend of mine over the course of a year who we've had, I guess, just tension with. There was stuff getting in the way of us having a clean and pleasant and neutral relationship. Now, relationships change over time. You can start as best friends, you can drift apart, you can become, you can hold contempt for each other, you can come back and become friends again, you can start as enemies and become the best of friends. There's all different kinds of relationships. They change over time. So with this friend, we recognized that our relationship wasn't what it used to be, and that it was getting in the way of our lives and our work duties. And so we decided to cooperatively listen to relationship repair, among a few other processes like karmic repair and sometimes soul repair, etc. But mostly relationship repair over the course of a year. And all we did was listen to it together. We did not talk before or after. We just created the space and the time to listen to it together and dedicate it to healing our relationship. And it did. It made it to a point where we are happy and neutral around each other. There is no charge or triggering. And for my part, I know that that's a process of listening to relationship development in that happening. So that was one of the most, I think, intentional, sustained ways that I've used relationship development. I've also used it with myself, my relationship with myself, my relationship to my physical form, various family members and coworkers. I know people who listen to this and dedicate it to their families before going home for Thanksgiving, Christmas, family reunions, things like this. And, as with the previous tool that we talked about in the last episode, health repair, I unfortunately tend to be more retroactive than proactive when using this tool, meaning there's already an issue that needs help, but plenty of people also use it proactively as well. Like I said, before a stressful work event or a family reunion or something like that. Some even use it to clear the way for new relationships to come in. People will dedicate this relationship repair to clearing anything that they need for themselves to get out of the way before a new relationship or romantic connection comes in to their lives. So it can be used in so many beautiful ways. And again, this transformation and change is brought about by listening to a 16-minute process. You are simply pressing play and listening. It's almost too easy. This is a compact, time-bound spiritual technology given to us by the Master Angels through the teacher, Master John Douglas. And it's available to anyone. Like every other process, relationship repair costs $150. It never stops working. It is continually added to and updated when appropriate by the Master Angels without needing to purchase another. This process, as I mentioned before, and quite expansively, also includes a link to a more in-depth talk called A Guide to Relationship Development, explaining the process and what it does, which I highly recommend, of course, listening to. Master John is the living conduit, bringing these spiritual technologies from the Master Angels into physical form. So there's really, truly no better person to hear from regarding the proper use of these tools. There are so many other things I could say about relationship repair, and really so many things I could say about all of these processes, but I am going to leave it there for today. We will continue with another Angelic Reformation MP3 process in our next episode. That will be karmic repair. Now that's a big topic. Karma in general could be a whole season, a whole 5-10 seasons by itself. There's a lot more to karma than we know and realize on this planet. So I'll do my best to discuss karmic repair. If you are interested in looking more into these tools, visit globalcma.org. And again, I'm not getting any kickbacks or accolades or anything from doing this season. I'm sharing these tools because I've used them for almost a decade and my life has been truly transformed in unfathomable ways because of them. It's not a journey for everyone, but it is available to anyone interested. Even doing this season of the podcast isn't something that was needed or asked for by the leaders of this organization or this practice, but rather something I personally felt called to share at this time. Please use your own discernment. If this is calling to you, there's probably a reason for that. If you like this podcast, please consider leaving a review and stating that you like it. So I'll leave it there for today. Stay positive, stay safe, and stay meta.
The Let's Get Metaphysical podcast is an Up, and Awaken production and is produced and hosted by Renata Maniaci. Our intention is to raise the vibration of the planet by sharing, validating, and normalizing spiritual and metaphysical experiences. The Let's Get Meta podcast is inspired by angels and supported by angels. If you would like to be a patron angel of the podcast, visit patreon.com/letsgetmeta. Thank you for listening. Stay meta.
Let's get meta.
Metaphysical.
Let's get meta.
Metaphysical.
Let's get meta.
Metaphysical.
Let's get meta.
Metaphysical.